Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to Roadwarden, where today I'm really hoping to improve our fortunes. Which is to say, I would like by the end of this episode to have any fortunes. So we've just arrived at Gale Rocks. The smoke above the village is as dense as it gets. The locals are taking care of the most tiresome tasks before the return of the fishers. The adults are either outside carrying timber and food, or in their workshops, the largest of which are open air. The sounds of work muffle the conversations, so you mostly hear the shouts of overseers. The elders also do their part, helping with cooking and chores, while children either make as much noise as they can or pay attention to their trade lessons. Some of the locals slow down to observe you, but whenever you meet their eyes, you find a challenge, not amity. Yeah, people are super friendly around here. I return to the young people looking for a match. I tell Paulus about Timo's conditions. He responds with a smile, then warm laughter. And that's all? Of course I agree, as long as she teaches me them pyre dances, or whatever it is they do. You tell her I'll arrive with the spring thaw to meet her. His voice lowers suddenly, cut by pain. Without anyone else, I suppose. He's first to mention the compensation for your service. You're still helping Marina, right? We've already talked to our head woman. She agreed to reward your work once your matchmaking is done. Be sure to meet her then. Oh, interesting. What was it Marina wanted? I don't have a... Okay, I should have a matchmaking quest that tells me someone willing to move in with her and her son and is only interested in the rights followers. The tribe of White Marshes seeks no spouses and will not let anybody leave. So I wonder where else... I don't know. Because I'd already been to Creeks after getting this, right? So I would have asked in Creeks if I could have. Maybe not. Am I looking for someone? I have a vague memory of there being someone I wanted to talk to. We roughly know what the deal is with Asterion. We gotta find Glaucia. I think that's going to be the next step in this is actually talking to Glaucia, which I do not know how we're going to do. They want to capture a runner alive. That's not quite ready to happen. I should have just gone through all these before the episode. There is that carp. I don't know how I'm going to bring it alive all the way down there, but healing powers would be awfully nice. They just want to answer my question until I learn more about the raids from the northern villages, which I have now done, so I can go back to Howler's Dell and probably collect some money. And then if I were to go back to the Pelt, I could get paid again. It's probably worth doing. I haven't been back to the Pelt in quite some time, and I sure could use some fucking cash. The Druids from Howler's Dell told me if I care about that man. Okay, we might want to go to the Fishers. Let me talk to the gatekeeper real quick. Have you heard about the plague that has fallen upon old Pagos? The plague? His voice is close to a shout, and a few people glance toward the two of you. The guard grows pale. Better take it to our head woman, Warden. We were planning trade with them, we were. Yeah, okay. I'm looking for the head woman. Our head woman is in the keep, says a young basket weaver with legs too short and thin for her to stand on. But she's not very patient with strangers, she's not. Or with loud neighbors. You thank her with a nod and head to the hill on the western bank, walking past the big kitchen. The steep path leads through an open, unguarded gate. As you look around the yard, you notice a few pigeons running around, keenly observed by a pet griffin tied to a wooden beam. Some drying underwear hanging from a rope, a spiked flail leaning against the wall carelessly, and a knocked-over bucket lying in a puddle of water. The place may be messy, but it is not impaired in its function. Preparing it for defense wouldn't take longer than a few minutes, and judging by a wall walk of the bailey, it could stand an attack from a large squad of soldiers. The current state of the place makes you think of Havlavan, whose stronghold yards and temple walls are often surrounded by small peddlers, a few of which are even allowed to set up stalls. As long as they don't hinder anyone else's tasks, they're allowed to pursue the scarce scraps of open space. I look at the keep. The bright walls stand out from the other structures in the village, and as far as you can tell, the current layer of whitewash is still fresh. There must be at least 3 floors inside, enough space to contain more than 100 people, though without much between them. There are arrow slits in the walls, and the roof is surrounded by a fence-like barrier, a perfect spot for boulder throwers and archers. The large entrance door is ajar, with a wrinkled man sitting on a pillow placed on the stairs. He's not wearing a gambeson, but the fine steel sickle sword at his side makes it clear he's not just a regular guard. He stops what he was doing, carving a figurine from a log, and stands up to greet you. "Cheers, Roadwarden. Severina was told about your arrival. Follow me." He may be old, but he's tall. Okay. That's a weird... Excuse me, that just really tickled my fancy. I mean, sure, he's old, but he's tall. With the long and thin arms of a sea folk, a neatly groomed beard, and his gray hair in a ponytail. As you follow him, you're hit by the strong scent of cloves. I climb up the stairs. The door is thick and could be barricaded with 2 wooden bars. The hall is filled with benches, some of which are placed on top of the others, giving a bit more space for now. There is one path to the next floor, suspiciously covered with planks. The chamber is free of the roaring of the river, the shouts of the workers, the chaos of animals, or the smell of cooked food. The room is well lit, both by sunlight and candles, and quite drafty, though you still smell perfumes and aging wood. You doubt anyone lives here, or even uses this room for dining. "The Roadwarden is here," says the guard, and approaches the desk, standing between you and the old woman sitting behind it. I take a closer look. So far, she hasn't spared you so much as a glance. She's writing on a large wax tablet with a stylus as large as a dagger, and since she's a bit stooped, you see her only from the chest up. She's wearing a thick, warm dress in the color of a cherry, and an even darker, modest hat that's covering her hair. She could be older than 70, yet her face and hands have been spared from scars harsher than some pockmarks carved by illnesses. If you were to encounter her in Havlavan, you would expect her to be an official, or maybe a rich scribe. Some of her belongings, however, wouldn't be found at the city's desks. The wax of her tablet isn't dyed. Instead of keeping water in a cup, she has a large, colorful seashell, and the winged hourglass placed on a stone stand is made of dried seaweed. I glance at the young woman who sits in the corner. Her crossbow is pointed at you. The resemblance between her and the elder is stunning, though she's slim and a bit taller, and wears a simple dark blue and black woolen tunic. While she's resting on a chair, she looks at you almost without blinking, with hardly any movement, like a cat staring at a rat, trying to judge if you're defenseless prey or a threat. Well, it feels to me like being aggressive. It's probably not a great play here. Out of curiosity, what would that look like? Okay, that's not even really threatening in my opinion. So we could be friendly. The people here are not super friendly. I have 2 different options at distanced. You know what? I'm going to be friendly. Whether or not she's into it, at the very least, I want her to regard me as somebody who is not here to, cause trouble. Hopefully she has some sense of that now, because she must have heard about me already. "It's nice to meet you, Severina. I came here to see if your village needs any help from a Roadwarden." She raises her violet eyes, but only for a moment. "Where do you think you are, outsider? Some lost tribe desperate for help from adventurers and vagabonds? Our village carries blood older than your city, it does, and we've endured hardships you couldn't imagine." Her accent is not as thick as that among the younger villagers, keeping a shadow of the years when the guild had tighter ties with the peninsula. But since she has no teeth, you have to think for a moment before you recognize some of her words. "Better tell me what you want from my people, and scat." Her face shifts into indifference, and, still holding her stylus, she once again bends over her tablet. Okay, well, The village of Old Pagos is struggling with a plague and isolates itself from trade and travelers. She looks at the perfumed man who's standing with an open mouth. You glance at the crossbow woman who has lowered her weapon. The head woman, still without a word, leans forward and rests her forehead on the back of her hand. Her guard tries to speak, but she looks at him with sorrow. "Let me think," she states, and after less than a minute, tells him to gather the council once your meeting is over. My hope is that spreading that news around as much as I can will get the other villages to do the same as White Marshes did and, figure out some kind of aid that they can lend. At the very least, aid packages that can be given. I say nothing. So she glances at the exit. All right. Listen, did this village face any struggles with the bandits? She looks at the guard, then around her. Have you noticed where you are? We're safe enough to fight a dragon, and if there are any bandits in our woods, they eat nothing barring timber and worms. Whenever we trade, we send groups of 10, 20 souls strong, enough to push away a few footpads. All right, what can you tell me about the tunnel south from here? I can tell you that the venerable digger Ayuna will tell you more about it than you want to hear, she will. Before the war, it used to be crossed every 10, 20 days, enough for us to keep it garrisoned. But with how little use it now has, I'd be mad to ask any of our youth to throw themselves at the beasts that live there. She glances at an open pouch that's lying just nearby, with a few dragon bones sticking out of it. Her toothless grimace is hard to read. And don't offer me your services to merely get rid of the Awoken. I need long-term solutions, not violence, and sooner or later another threat will take their place. It may just as well stay occupied. At least no vagabonds will take it over. If you say so. My patience runs short, outsider. Severina gestures for you to pause. Are you sure other matters can't wait till tomorrow? I am, actually. There's something else we need to discuss. We need to, do we now? She says through clenched teeth. And what is it? So I want to ask about the watchtower at the Eastern Road. I think it's interesting that we've assumed, am I misremembering? Was there a reason for us to think that it was controlled by creeks? It seems a little bit out of nowhere to ask about this. But I'm also, obviously, very curious to ask her about the tribe of the Green Mountains, since we've not had the opportunity to pursue that anywhere else. I think this is going to be my first concern. I've heard something about the tribe of the Green Mountain. Did you now? Then find someone who holds them in little regard, for we promised to keep them safe from guests, we did. She pauses, glancing at your blade, especially the armed city folk. I hope you understand. You try to learn anything else, but she runs out of patience quickly. Gale Rocks was one of the very few settlements that used to trade with the tribe, and I ain't speak of merely the things I remember myself, but even some that happened hundreds of years ago. The proud words make her voice get stronger and louder. Havlavan's merchants won't find anything there, and there are no roads for you to patrol. Forget about them, outsider. I frown, but agree to change the topic. She observes you without a word, but her fingers are tapping on the table. The guard gives you a telling look. I'd like to get inside the watchtower standing at the Eastern Road. She and the perfumed guard exchange looks. Why would I give you a key? You mentioned that looking after roadside shelters is part of your responsibilities, and she smirks, raising her hand slightly. You don't say. We're not in Old Pagos. One's duty means nothing here until a soul proves they can be trusted. Okay. Well, if that's the way it's going to be, do you have any work for me? Do you have anything you need done? She runs her eyes over you, then frowns without as much as a hint of subtlety. Show me first that you're worth something. Work with our fishers. Find someone seeking a messenger. I don't need a stranger before autumn, when we'll trade for winter grain. Okay, yeah, I can do that. Have you seen Asterion recently? He's also a Roadwarden. She shrugs and reaches for one of the candles, casting better light on one of her smaller wax tablets. I know who he is, but I've only spoken with him a few times, and heard that he stopped visiting the village at the beginning of summer. If he was around, I would know about it, I would. You mention that you doubt a Roadwarden would simply ignore a headwoman of such a large village, and she looks at the ceiling, chewing on her bottom lip. I don't know what you're trying to imply, she says with a tone that won't accept any discussion. I had as much in common with him as I have with you. I don't trust strangers with crucial tasks, and if a warden of any kind wants to demonstrate that they know what they're doing, I invite them to survive a year or two before they bark. I don't respond. Alright, what are your thoughts about the necromancers in White Marshes? At this point, I am antagonizing her intentionally. You almost jump away when the crossbow woman shifts her position, but she turns out to just be uncomfortable with the way she's sitting. Severina smirks, but as she starts to speak, her voice grows worried. What happens in White Marshes is a sign of cowardice and weakness. I've seen my share of harsh years, and I sympathize. I do, with tribes that had to feed their people with tree bark, or decide which mother will eat enough to feed infants. But all them walking corpses will get out of the charms and murder their masters, like they always do, and instead of hunger and cold, they'll face the end of their souls. All we can do is keep ourselves safe. You try to ask a few more questions, but to no avail. We don't really travel there often, stranger, and some of the knowledge we gathered on this place is for our ears alone. Okay, she can't trust that I'll keep anything between us, I get it. Considering that the people of your village follow the right, I'm surprised you're not feeling pressured into taking action against the undead of White Marshes. And what do you think we ought to do? Encourage them by taking their land? Or startle their wild game? Maybe torch their roofs? She takes an awkwardly long pause, yet as you start to answer, she instantly cuts in. We have no plans to conquer or pillage their home, and while some of us would like to take matters into their own hands, I ain't risking our lives in battle with mere heretics. Without walls, we'll have nothing to keep us safe. Yeah, I say nothing, expecting for her to interrupt me again. She observes you without a word, but her fingers are tapping on the table. Well, I mean, at this point, in for 99 pennies, in for a pound. Can you tell me a bit about Gale Rocks? She speaks slowly, with a kindness someone may show an annoying brat that has one last chance to learn from their mistake. Do I look like someone who'd be interested in spending time as a guide or a telltale? Before you answer, she starts to move around a few small packages and looks inside one. Scat, spend some time among our walls. Speak with the fishers, the artisans, all them lads and lasses whose blood keeps the shell of our village alive. Yep, fair enough. Alright, I'm out of here. A bunch of kids laugh loudly as they carry buckets of vegetables over the stone bridge, calling someone who may very well be minutes away from them. You go to... I've already forgotten her name. Where was the part about the tunnel? She said the name of a person who I do actually want to speak to. Okay, village, the tunnel, Ayuno. I'm looking for Ayuno. The locals explain that the centuries-old caves need little work, and the humble fixes they put into the walls and sheds are taken care of whenever such a need arises. After a few minutes of chatting, one of the children leads you to an elderly woman responsible for looking after the condition of them buildings. The digger called Ayuno, already wrinkled, gray-haired, and slightly stooped. She's sitting at the eastern gate, placing tiny building blocks on the table, raising a tall tower without making it collapse. Her hands are steady and precise, and her large eyes blink so rarely that you want to rub your own. She spares you a look and leans back, resting against the wall, then crosses her arms and critically observes her toys. Cheers, stranger. I have time. I was told you're the one who looks after the local construction works? That's pretty much it, right? She glances at the spread wooden blocks. Every few springs or summers, I gather a crew to build something new, or rather replace an old hovel with something fresh, but most of the days I just make sure that roofs don't fall in on our heads, and that the cribbing in the caves ain't too moist. Then the coopers help me, or a bunch of fishers. She gives your axe a long look, then reaches for her much smaller hatchet and shaves one of her toys slightly, narrowing it. For centuries, there's been merely one digger at a time, and this custom serves us well, it does. It's an unusual name for your trade. And what would be the usual name in the city? A builder? After your shrug, Ayuno grasps one of her wooden blocks like a dagger. Our forebears used to dig in rocks, widening the caves, and it was a name with great honor behind it. When I look around, she does so as if to prove her point, it reminds me of our long path, from hiding to thriving, and on the surface. She can't hide her smile. Did your crew build that keep on the hill? It must have taken you many years. She looks in its direction. The whitewashed walls make it look brighter than many clouds. We started when I was only a teen, still learning from the previous digger. Her voice is full of pride. There used to be a humble watchtower there with tents around it. Now we can all stay locked inside thick walls, but also shoot arrows from the wall, roof, and windows. You ask her if the keep has ever been used by the locals in combat, and she suddenly grows disheartened. You would be surprised, you would. There are tales of dragons, pirates, and bandits, but all those happened before the war. Those lands were different, though I can't exactly say how. I'd like to learn more about the tunnel that leads through the mountain in the south. Oh, it's older than any human soul it is, but not ancient. Those who dug through the mountain were still around when I was but a small lass. The village saved everything it got from trade for more than a generation to bring the bronze gates from Havlavon here. The pickaxes and all them tools and nails. It has a single long corridor that reaches from one end to the other, and a few chambers on both sides where travelers used to spend a night if they were desperate enough. Don't try it without a group of guards now. Monsters also love deep caves, and the days are getting colder. So how come it's locked in the first place? It depends on who you ask. Let's just say that a great turmoil happened 10 years ago, right? The settlements grew further apart, traded less. Keeping a garrison of fighters and builders at the tunnel brought little value. We had to put greater trust in our own work, not in the caravans. Once again, foraging, cutting trees, and farming. With time, more and more beasts gathered around the tunnel, getting used to seeing no pushback. She looks at an old plank that's been resting behind her stool. She compares its thickness with one of her toys, then reaches for a gouge and a handsaw. It was 3 years back when a few traders of ours went missing. Our searching group found the gate locked from the inside. They tried to check it, but left the place when they saw moving shells, dead and fleshless. We've decided to clean it someday in the future. Maybe hire a group of strangers to take the risk upon themselves. She glances at you. But so far, none have reached our village. So she would like the tunnel opened. I'm with the merchants. Do you have enough building materials for your needs? No, better ask the Coopers. They struggle with timber. The good thing about digging in hills is we always have enough stone. Our rocks are crude, but we don't need to sculpt. Just pile them on. She turns a few building blocks into a small wall. Okay, I'll just put in... Let's see if this works. Am I able to just go, I'm looking for someone? The Coopers. Okay, yes, I don't need a name. The Coopers and carpenters in general have their space at the edge of the village, separated from the saltery with a stone wall that catches the shavings before they reach the fish, and which are then swept into a pile and moved to the smokehouse. You walk between the 4 woodworkers while the last one, a young woman with an apologetic smile, leaves the thatched store. She's wearing a heavy, worn robe, half brown, half yellow, covered with dust and wood chips, and carries under her arm a stack of willow withies. 2 small seashells, in many shades of orange, are hanging from her ears. Stranger, we need space here. Well, I was hoping to learn a bit about your work. I'm from Havlavon. With a sigh of relief, she approaches an unfinished barrel, whose staves are getting pressed together with a dense cage of weaved withies. In the city, the Coopers would use old iron hoops, which would take less than a 20th of the labor. She drops her delivery and touches your shoulder with her large, strong hand. So, the guild wants to speak trade again. Very well, all right, very well. Let me show you around. I'm Demetia, the head carpenter, I guess. She states with hesitation, and one of her workers mockingly snorts. Your guide laughs in response. Shag an eel, idiot. Her small crew laughs as well. Yes, me too. Hello, I'm human. I get along with you. Her teeth are mostly yellow, but straight. My predecessor lost his eyes to a harpy a few days back, so I'm new to the role. But don't worry, I know what I'm doing. She confidently straightens up. Right, so we have two types of work. Barrels and everything else. On good days, we make a barrel. On bad days, we fail. She laughs. But that's fine. We can always get it done after a good sleep. She goes into greater detail, and your eyes start to wander between the benches, pieces of cut wood, mallets, axes, and shaving tools. Noticing this, she nods toward the other workers. When the barrels are resting or bending, we do other things, but only for our own farmers, builders, and fishers. Navika is the most experienced of us, so she makes boats and paddles, right? Responsible tasks. The tiny woman she points at doesn't even raise her eyes. We sometimes make furniture, we do, but merely when something breaks. Okay, so the barrels are the most important. Do you have enough wood for them? Not really. We use oak, beech, and pine, but staves have to rest for 3 years, sometimes 2, sometimes 4. Every day I bring 14 steves and 2 headers here, and we replace them with new ones. We're careful with what we have. It's hard to plan years ahead. She gives you a warm smile. You need to talk about it with my neighbors first, but maybe the guild would like to provide us with some timber? We'd rather barter than lock the coins in the keep, you see. Well, the guild won't move wood from their own stalls so far to the north, but they may help you set up a new hamlet or find you a partner who lives closer to Hag Hills. Right, it would need to be someone outside of the peninsula. Here, everyone cuts only for themselves, they do, even those jesters from creeks. We used to have a camp of lumberjacks, but now our warehouse gets emptier every day. For a bit, you discuss with her the value of a wagon filled with logs or planks, but the discussion leaves your area of expertise quickly. You simply promise to get the message to the merchants, and Demetia wishes you a safe journey. I take one more look around and leave the workshop. Okay, so I'm meeting people. That's cool. A group of children are playing only a few steps away from you, but in the process, one of them drops a pouch of salt on the ground, causing a stir. I could still learn more about the wares this village has to offer. We could just guess. Are there potters? You're told that the potters only work once every year or two, when enough of the earthenware pots and cups break from use. What else would they need? They need fletchers? They fire bow. They want to have arrows and bows to fire from the keep and everything. Are there just like generally miners? There must be, right? No. I could still learn more about the wares this village has to offer. And I mean, we know there's the fishers, but they're up at the beach right now. Somebody's growing the food. There's some farming going on, right? You find humble gardens and vegetable fields in both halves of the village. The farmers explain that these plants are but a small addition to their regular meals. The village would struggle without trading fish for regular crops and flour. Yeah. Maybe that's enough for right now. I need to get more familiar with the people of this place, right? I'm not going to talk to the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is a total bummer. I'm going to ride up and have words with the fishers. The refreshing smell tempts into taking a few deep breaths. There are no boats, nets, or fishers in sight, but there are countless boot prints in sight, and both on the road and next to it. I approach the pier. You're next to the shed. The fishers are in the middle of their work. Most of them are either away from the coast casting the nets from the boats, or just walk around with hardly any clothes on them, using their fancily shaped spears to catch either a fish or a bird sitting at one of the rocks. There's also a few people on the land, resting, eating, and keeping an eye on the equipment. And I head to them. It is too late, and I am too exhausted to actually join them in their work. Hey, did you catch that Empress carp, Photios? Right, and a few of them, but most of them females. He approaches the nearby shed and brings you a bucket covered with lids that are held by hemp cords. He lets you hold it for a bit. It's heavy and its weight shifts as it's filled with water. You'll need to deliver it quickly or it's going to choke itself to death or die of hunger. I don't know much about keeping fish alive. But if it dies, I can sell you another one for another coin. Yeah, fine. All right. Wash myself in the ocean? Everything is so fucked up that +1 appearance still left me at 0 appearance. All right. The water's freezing, and after you're done, sand makes you wait for a while before you dry up enough to put your clothes back on. The unpleasant touch of salt covering your skin will travel with you. All right, let's get out of here. So how long would it take me? It would take me 6:30 to ride back to there. And it's only 45 minutes between Howler's Dell and the Elder's Cave. So I think that's what I do. I think I just haul to the Elder's Cave, give him the fish now, and then head back up to Howler's Dell, provided that I can do that without any terrible things occurring. The family of deer you met some days ago has returned to the pond, this time accompanied by more members of their pack. One buck towers over all the others with antlers as large as your palfrey. It takes a few steps toward you, shaking its head. You better stay where you are. You observe their curious, lazy glances. While the adults quench their thirst, the young ones are playing in the tall grasses, basking in the middle of the road. It takes quite a few minutes before the large beast orders the others to head back into the woods. Its bellow is like a falling boulder. I'm gonna give it a little space. Okay. Cost us like 15 minutes. Not a big deal. You hear the chilling roar of a dragon from the mountains. Well, at least there's no avalanche. The old druid is resting on the bench, and he welcomes you with a new interest in his voice. Words of the help you've shown my neighbors from Howler's Dell have reached me, traveler. Good. Very good. Yeah? Has one of those critters of yours brought you the news? Moronic. Animals do not speak, not even the largest beast. You see a playful spark in his eye. First things first, let me give you this fish. Wait, how I give fish? I brought what you had asked for. He looks inside the bucket quickly, then gives you a big smile. Now I'm in your debt, traveler. Let me know if you need a healing touch. He closes the bucket again and puts it on the bench. The thing is, if we go back to Howler's Dell and we're able to buy a good night's sleep, we'll go up to 2 points of vitality, and I'm wondering if I do in fact want to spend the healing that we've earned now, or if I can redirect it to somebody else, maybe. There are other people here who need help. We have much to talk about, my friend. I bring news from old Pagos, and it's real bad. His eyes widen. What did you say? A plague. You tell him everything you've heard about the symptoms. He attentively observes your lips and sometimes asks you to clarify details, though you usually don't know how to answer him. He finally nods, then turns away and approaches the garden beds, lost in his thoughts. You wait in silence. He speaks after a short break. There's nothing I can do. His words are trembling. I am uncertain whether this is going to be motivating or he's just going to be outraged at me. I don't feel like I know this guy well enough to judge how he's going to take something like that. I'm not going to say this because I'm not sure that that there's anything he could do about it. Okay, well, is there anything I can do? He strokes his beard and examines your equipment. There may be. You can help me cast a spell of great power, but it will take much. You wouldn't dare, and you'd have to give up a grand reward. It is a quest for a hero, no messenger, and there are no heroes. You underestimate me. I'll show you what I'm made of. Before you finish, he turns away from you and looks at the falling water. Then listen. Help me awaken Beholder, the good totem from the swamp. You've already passed its altar in the crossroads north from here. It needs to be fed, and it feasts only on spirits. The Pneuma held in human blood, the magic locked in items. Offer them and it will answer your call. But 'tis a hungry being, and it will ne'er be nurtured by a single gift. Who knows how much it wants? He carries on without pausing, as if he's speaking from memory. But let it grow, and it will reward you. Take its holy seed and bring it back to me. I'll enter the village, and through the totem's power, I'll replenish my strength and keep the Pneuma before it leaves the lungs of humans. He stands in the same spot for a few breaths, then finally looks back at you. So, I need to offer magic to the altar. I'm not going to ask what I will get in return. Maybe it's time to ask the Druids from the village to help. I'm sure they could spare some of their Pneuma. He puts his hands on his sides and looks at the clouds above him. If they were willing to help you, they wouldn't have sent you here, at least not all by yourself. They stare into the promises of power and the fears that such promises bring. For them, losing Pneuma is a risk. You must understand that old Pagos is no friend of theirs, as it bows to the right, the creature that laughs when we wither. Many people wouldn't spare a tear for this place, and would much prefer it to turn into a house for boars and rooks. Yeah, shit. Alright, so I need to offer magic to the altar. What must we do next? When you deliver the seed to me, we'll leave, though we'll need time to get to old Pagos and back. 'Tis a long road for a shell of my years, but the totem's gift will keep me strong. Alright, tell me more about this seed. His voice becomes confident and solemn. Beholder bears but one fruit a year, and only if its hunger is satisfied. The heart of this fruit, its seed, holds a great power of youth, strength, and magic. Therefore, when the winter ends, the people of Howler's Dell gather at its feet and give away the Pneuma held in their blood and possessions. 'Tis a sacrifice that would kill a single soul, but when shared by many, 'tis but a sign of acceptance, an act of overcoming pain. Okay. Do you have anything I could give to the altar? His blue eyes are kind. He reaches into a pouch that was previously hanging from his neck. I can't say I trust you, but I want to believe you'll prove to be honest. Take this. As he reaches out, you see a flat bluish pebble lying on his open palm. You could go to any stream and find hundreds of rocks like this one. It is a gift I received a few years back, a rock filled with Pneuma by Eudocia the Enchantress. Once put in one's mouth, it brings back the strength of one's exhausted Pneuma, or kills you if you're not a spellcaster. Put it on the altar and it will help you feed it. Hey, did we know that it'll kill you if you're not a spellcaster? Because that seems like relevant information to someone. I'm not going to ask what we're going to get. I'm not going to say dark magic stuff. Yeah, fine. I know everything I need. If you say so, traveler. If you say so. So, hold on. Can we talk about Phoebe? Phoebe? He's still trying to get a spirit rock. After your nod, he closes his eyes slowly, allowing the gentle breeze to shake his beard. Styrian mentioned the man's anger and denial. There's pride in his efforts, but also pain, as he cannot accept his daughter as the spirits have shaped her. Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. He opens his eyes, leading you to the main path, and looks northwest at the very distant mountains. Beyond Old Pagos, you'll find the monastery, with its respectable monks and their haunting temple. Speak to them with nae anger, but also nae foolery. Maybe Photios will listen to Right's followers. Okay. What can you tell me about the tribe of the Green Mountain? He scowls at you, then looks down the path. There's nae reason for anyone to bother them, or to leave the safe paths. Okay, so that's the second mention we've heard that wherever they are, it is not a place where there are roads. I wonder why you don't wear robes like the druids from Howler's Dell. I wear what I need, and therefore what is needed of me. He speaks with pride. My ancestors knew such path leads to freedom. No empty gestures, but honesty, gratitude, and tranquility. He looks toward the north. Those left in the village are putting their hands into matters that fit the empty-hearted. Their petty clothes are but a costume, no better than the dress of a merchant or a pretty rock thrown into a lake. What else can you tell me about these druids? He strokes his beard gently. The forest guides us, and we share its wisdom with the tribes. We and they ought to stay humble, take from the land what is needed instead of what's wanted. Not because it is something we believe in, but because it protects us from the wrath of the herds. To stay safe, one needs to know how to be patient and take restraint into their hearts. And to make the beasts listen to us, we keep the animals healthy, teaching them to never approach our homes and travelers. Yeah, sounds reasonable. He's observing your lips. Do you need anything else? Can we get back? Okay, it would only take 45 minutes to get back to Howlersdale. We can stay here and talk a little bit more. Have any hunters from creeks visited you recently? Here, in the opposite corner of the peninsula. Most people do not have a beast to carry them for miles, stranger. His playful tone suddenly gets worried. Or did their struggles with meat get so grim that they even consider such dangerous trips? He takes a deep breath and leans back. I cannot force beasts to jump under one's blade. The forest wouldn't trust me anymore. Okay, I'll show him the snake bait. I don't even remember that we have any snake bait. What can you tell me about this? He needs only a breath to recognize it. Ah, 'tis snake bait. He leans a bit closer. 'Tis not that rare, and not many people use it, and not many people need it. You'll learn that it's infamous for its alleged power to lure serpents and saurians. When consumed in moderation, it makes the shell more responsive to stimuli and makes periods of sleeplessness easier to bear. Juice from a single leaf is enough to induce hallucinations or an addicting sense of dreamlike euphoria. Using a large dose at once, or small doses too often, leads to frailty or death. Hey, you were Thyrsis' teacher, am I right? With a loud sigh, he looks away. He's still around. Glad to hear that. His voice carries pain, but as he carries on, you catch a hint of shame. He carries no many good tales of our shared time, I expect. Well, he claims your tribe was forcing him to follow pagan teachings, but at least you were a good teacher? His shoulders drop. I wasn't there to protect him, and my neighbors treated him poorly. One night he just left all by himself, yet reached his home despite the threats of the bogs. His Numa carries great potential, though from what I've heard his soul is still immature. His eyes look even brighter than usual, but his voice grows stronger. If you plan to see him again, tell him I'm sorry. Not just for my daughter, or for that violent day. I'm sorry I failed him. Okay. Listen, I do still need to learn more about the tribe of the Green Mountain. He considers your question and finally looks at the sky, making his long hair fall on his back. Listen closely. I'm not going to say anything else. He takes a deep breath and turns toward the pond, observing the current. The road in the far east, one that's now abandoned, is showing the truth. Look for a brook bridge made of stone. On its northern side, turn east again, and go along the stream. It'll be rough at first, but soon enough you'll get to the game trail, then a mountain. Climb it to reach the village of the tribe of the Green Mountain, who follow traditions older than any of ours. This grim tribe avoids the outside world. Right's followers have hurt them deeply. If you want them to share a stew with you, this is what you should tell. I'm a freedom seeker, a friend of the speakers of the forest. Say these words like an unwanted guest looking for a roof. They do not want you there, but prove to them that you're willing to listen, not just speak. He turns toward you. There's nothing else to say. That was a big, I feel like this is a sign of tremendous trust. This is a big thing that he just did for us. All right. I think I'm going to ride out. I am not collecting my reward just yet. Yeah. Let's ride out. Let's get back to Howlersdale before nightfall. Let's go tell Timo what's up, first of all. She's at the creek, but takes a break to speak with you, apologizing for her crude appearance. She gasps for air with her hands on her knees, but looks you directly in the eyes. I have an answer from Paulus. She shouts and jumps toward you, throwing her arms around your neck. And I had such an awful day. Thank you. With tears in her eyes, she steps away, though your clothes and cheek are already covered with droplets of water. Of course, nothing is said for sure. Her calm words are betrayed by her excited tone. I'll ask my uncle Akakios, to not be so rabid when he swaps dragon bones with you. Another few minutes of her insisting you have to come to the wedding, if it occurs, but nothing for sure, but you must promise, but who knows, but you must be there. You leave her with her friends. See you soon. That's very charming. I'm going to go to the main square, because I need to talk to the mayor. Because I need some fucking money so that I can stay at the inn. So, I bring news about the other parts of the peninsula. I bring news about Glossia's band. And what are they? The only place bothered by raids is White Marshes. The people from Gale Rocks and Creeks have faced no issues. She exhales and raises her open palms. So, there's no reason to worry. The people of White Marshes are no friends of ours, and if Glossia is eager to bother with the poorest settlement in the north, especially one filled with Awoken, it must be personal for her. We have no reason to stand in the middle of it. She straightens up and adjusts her cape, then stares into your eyes. Her voice is solemn. As the mayor of Howler's Dell, I appreciate your concern, but I don't share your apprehension. The guards of our village will stay on our walls. Be sure to come see us soon. We would gladly share a lamb and tail with you. Very well, I'll pass it to him. She reaches for her pouch. And here's what I promised you. Good work, Samhain. Yeah, just let me know if you need anything else. She leans forward, and even though she smiles, her voice is close to a whisper. I wonder, why are you here? What pushes someone to becoming a Roadwarden? We're working against her goals, for sure. But I don't see any reason to lie to her about this. Especially if you are generally misleading someone. My view on the matter, not that I'm an expert manipulator of people or anything, my view on the matter is that you lie to them as little as possible. You get caught in one thing, it makes you a lot easier to get caught in others, you know? Well, I need coin to help a friend I care about. Oh, quite a burden. Many would turn to thievery or plots or blood magic. Your pursuit is respectable. She straightens up with an encouraging smile. Havlavan is suffocating. All the churches, traders, soldiers, and craft guilds won't welcome a stranger in need. Still, better this than being an adventurer. Speaking of, I could use some more work. She looks around, then adjusts her cape and lowers her voice. Have you ever spoken with Arentius, the necromancer of White Marshes? I haven't, you respond, and she bursts into laughter so unprompted and loud it makes you quake. Have you been to my favorite spot, right behind the corner? Sometimes all I want is to take a nap there with a cat on my lap and mint tisane at hand. Come, I'll show you. Once you reach the boarpad, the noise of work and conversations is suppressed by the humming water. The mayor glances at the window above you, then strokes her lips with her thumb. Let's rest here. She leaves you enough space to sit down with her. The scent of her rose perfume is strong, but this time her eyes are absently aimed at Beyond's home. What I'm going to tell you needs to stay between us, she says hesitantly. Yeah, no, I get it. She crosses her legs, clasping her pale hands around her knee. We need to get rid of the undead. Of the undead or of the necromancer? Well, we both know the former won't go away without the latter. Her voice relaxes a bit, and she starts to dangle her sandaled foot. White Marshes is a threat to us all. We ought to burn the wound while it's still fresh. So what's your plan? Well, start with reaching the village. It's not far away from here. Just ride north, and on the second turn, turn east, enter the bogs. On the second turn east, enter the bogs. That was really hard for me to parse without the punctuation in there. Take a closer look. See how many shells they've awoken, how dangerous they are. Just don't mention me at all. Being a Roadwarden affiliated only with Hovlevan works to your advantage. On the opposite bank of the creek, a seagull is preening its feathers, unaware that a young boy is trying to sneak up on it with comically raised hands. Maybe the locals will allow you to meet with the priest, ask him what his plans are. Just don't ask hastily and act hastily, and keep me informed. Yeah, what can you tell me about Errands? She waves it off. I didn't pay attention to him back in the day. His tribe had a regular mayor, whatever her name was. And one day he revealed himself to be Right's prophet and somehow convinced his tribe to follow him. I don't think he's left the village since. And what will you do if he refuses to release the corpses? In her green eyes, you find an unwavering confidence. Well, I'll take the matter into my own hands. You forgot to mention my reward. Don't make me laugh, Samhain. Her voice is grim. I'm not asking you for a favor. I'm offering you my help. You think we're the ones who would suffer from the hands of the undead? It's the smaller settlements, the roads, the inns, the travelers, who take the lethal blow. We can handle the direct threat, but I'd rather see our lives grow in comfort, not conflict. She observes her fingers, rubbing them together as if she's getting used to a different skin. Now, if the guild were to see dozens of corpses roaming through the north, they would decide it's not worth their effort. Do I really have to explain why you shouldn't stay idle? If you and I act together, I'll invest coins, time, fighters, and supplies. With every word, the annoyance in her voice grows. And what else could you want? A blade from cold steel? A riding ibex? A soft shell to warm up your nights? A staff of immortality? She takes a deep breath, but falls silent. Explain to me why you want to interfere. Well, this feels a little silly because, we already know that. She just did. I don't really want to give her information right away. I want to... All right, you know what? It doesn't hurt me, probably, for her to know what I know at this point, which isn't very much. Look, I can already tell you this and that about the village. Oh, you waste no time, I see. Dace's voice is warm, but you both look toward the seagull, still unaware of the danger. The boy is just about to jump. I let the kid have some fun. The kid grasps the creature and makes a triumphant cry, holding the bird as it squawks in panic and flaps its wings. In a few heartbeats, the creature's neck is hanging at an unnatural angle. Damn, that's not really what I was expecting that kid to do. He raises the seagull above his head, waiting for the mayor's approving nod, then takes his prey away, whistling. Well, I guess it's food, right? Your companion lets out a chuckle and leans away, resting against the inn's wall with crossed arms. So, did you manage to get in touch with the priest? Won't happen. I can try to gain the locals' trust, but I doubt Errands will listen to reason. After you give her the overview of the situation, she asks you for a minute to collect her thoughts. Resting in the cool wind, she keeps staring in the distance. Once she speaks, you catch no hint of hesitation in her voice. In such a case, avoid meeting with Errands. It's better for his people to not know how determined you are to stop him. Instead, carry on with your general patrol route and speak with the leaders of the other settlements, at least those who are willing to listen. Tell them we need to unite our forces to enter White Marshes and force the necromancer to release the Awoken. I'll handle most of the obstacles, but I need at least one tribe to join me. You're the one who will lead the fighters. We'd rather avoid bloodshed anyway, and you know the bogs better than any of our hunters. She adjusts her purple dress as if she's just finished a meal. Once you find someone, come here and speak to me, ideally in the morning, and we'll begin our preparations. Very well. I'll prepare myself for a difficult day. I'm sure you will. She stands up, her voice absent. After a few steps, you return to your usual table. I'm not going to ask her about the tribe of the Green Mountain. I don't want to bring anybody else in on that. I know what I need to do now. I bring news about the other parts of the peninsula. With a smile, she gestures for you to go on. I'm not going to... Nope. You surely don't avoid hard conversations, do you? Most city folk feel hesitant when they meet pagans. She smirks, but the hand clenched around her deer buckle makes you alert. Are you that open to strangers? Or did the United Church loosen its grasp? I'm interested in who could take their place. The guilds and artisans? The army? Well... I wonder. I feel like the church would kind of... Based on what little I understand about how churches have worked in politics in the past, I feel like a church is somewhat likely to come out on top. Yeah, the United Church stands strong, and so do its laws. Havlavan is still loyal to the Empress, even if she's not around. Well, that's hardly good news, is it? Signing a deal with Havlavan will bring their sacred butchers here, ready to teach us how to change our path. She sighs, but with clear exaggeration. Emperors or not, their priests don't take no for an answer. Yeah. Then thank you for your time. The 3 coins we earned there is all I really needed. I guess it's time for sleep? I am indeed hungry, but this'll help. Oh, I'm too hungry. I have to have the food in my belly before I sleep in order to regain the vitality. I thought eating because of the thing would be good enough. I approach Eric's. Hey, Eric's, can I get some rations? I have just enough money to buy food. Thank you. Eat some food. And then we can sleep and, yeah. Sleep and recover greatly. I cannot afford to get my Gambeson repaired, sadly. Maybe in the morning, though, if I can speak to the trader and offload this tablet. Maybe. The moon is bright, and so is the night. You recognize shapes of owls and bats, and spot movements on the ground. There are many stories about the moon's origins and purpose, and they're older than any of the doctrines known in the cities. These legends are shared not by religions, but rather by tribes, as if they're part of a deeper conviction, something spread through the milk of mothers and wet nurses, or through the whispers of the trees and winds. The moon is a powerful spirit who watches and guides humankind when we have no sun to protect us. That's why we call what's in its center the eye. That's interesting. Or perhaps it's just a large rock that will one day fall from the sky and crush everything that's alive, starting a new age of darkness. For some reason, it controls the weather. It gathers weak clouds like a shepherd and shapes the tides. It's a home of strange animals. They are different but as bright as humans and sometimes visit the land. Or the moon is up there and we're here now. Who cares what it hides? What do I think my character believes? I think this is kind of romantic. I like this idea. That's why we call that big crater the Eye, because the moon's washing over us. You spend the night in peace in a clean bed with a tightly shut window, and gosh, it sure is nice. Alright, so we got food, we got vitality, we gained some appearance. I need to get my clothes fixed, but shit's tough. The trader's not around. I sit at a table and wait for him. Ugh, he took his time to show up. I bring goods to sell, my dude. We need this. This is our proof that, gosh, my brain is so bad with names. This is our proof that hunter's dead. But this, nice work. You've even got the stylus. That'd make for a nice gift if I were to change the wax for a green one. You want to leave it here for 3 rings? You know what? I absolutely will do that. Nothing else for now, right? Yeah, we could buy that lantern. Nothing else for now. Leave the square, go check out the tailor. Well, the thing is I need my armor, right? We probably also, it'd be really nice to have our outfit repaired. People respond better to us when we're in good shape, although I have no idea to what extent. Like, mechanically, I don't know how much benefit we've actually seen from appearance or anything. But our Gambeson is how we stay alive. I have some food now. I'm going to go ahead and take the repairs here. Yeah, I think I'm just like very important. It's very important that I be able to survive going into the woods should I need to again go into the woods. And I think I'm going to leave it right here for the moment. I don't actually have a great plan as to exactly what I want to do now. Maybe the move is to just go to the Tribe of the Green Mountain immediately. Could be. Seems like a thing for next episode, Samhain, to figure out. For now, I'll just say thank you all so much for watching. When you come back next time, I'm sure I will have a cunning and entertaining plan. And we'll see you then.